I want to introduce Sam Morril to the pod and to you guys. Welcome. Look,
thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude. Listen, I don't know if you remember this, but we actually had lunch in New York City, maybe 5 to 6 years ago.
Where did we have lunch?
I don't remember.
All right, now I feel better.
Okay, look, I don't remember. It was this is before I got sober, so there was a lot of dates and things. It could have been 4 years. Everything in the last decade, I just can't place time. And
so you said before you got sober, and this was lunch, so you had a real fucking problem for sure.
That's right.
Yeah, we
did. I was dating a girl, and she was friends with Beth Stelling, and then you were there, and I happened to go along with her for this lunch with Beth.
I remember Upper West Side.
Okay, that sounds good. Yes,
I know.
And I was like, oh man, this guy's so nice. And I asked you what you did, and you're like, oh, I do stand up. And I was like, oh, great. And then I remember looking you up, and I was like, I think there wasn't a whole lot on YouTube back then, I think, but I remember thinking your jokes were super funny, and I love your like sort of dry delivery. And I don't know if you guys know, but if you're watching this, he just has had a stand-up go up on Comedy Central's YouTube channel. It's called I Got This. I watched it when it came out. I rewatched it today. It's as airtight as a special as I've seen in so long. There's like there's so many bangers in it, if I can say that. And it's you're so good, and
that comes from performing at a lot of strip malls where the seats are papered and no one gives a fuck about you. So you're like, this better be decent,
It was great, dude. And it was so nice to see that a guy that I actually did meet who was nice in person.
Thank you, man.
It's at 2.5 million views. And then I've been seeing you all over. I listened to your Marin interview. I just congrats on everything.
Thank you.
It's your time. I'm sure you've worked hard for it, and it's been a long time coming, but it's really, really cool to see.
Thanks,
and
man.
And the reason I brought you on is because I saw you made a tweet about something about how you loved The Sopranos.
Best show of all time, I think. I don't think it's even close. I respect your taste. If you like The Wire, if you like Breaking Bad, those aren't in my wheelhouse. I think they're great shows, but I'm a Sopranos guy. I like Mad Men.
Yeah.
I like
you're sophisticated.
I wouldn't say that.
But the creator of Mad Men was one of our writers, so that makes sense.
Oh yeah, such a great and Draper and Tony Soprano. There's I think there's some similarities, even though they're so different. But yeah, I think The Sopranos is my girlfriend makes fun of me. Taylor will say, she'll be like, "You're a psycho because you watched that before bed." But you know what? It's so good that I can't watch a horror movie before bed, but The Sopranos, the writing and the acting, everything's so good that I can watch it and it kind of just brings me peace. You ever do that?
Yeah.
I watched On the Waterfront the other night, and Taylor's miserable. She's so fucking sad, but I feel wow, that was great. I feel good,
Yeah, you accomplished something.
Yeah.
Does he do it for you, Cass?
Oh, Brando's my guy, dude.
Is he?
Yeah, especially in A Streetcar Named Desire, when he's eating those lunch meats and he's in that white tea that he's busting out of, and he's just saying his lines seem to be getting in the way of him eating cold cuts, but the way he does it, I mean, he's oozing sex. I got no problem saying it. The guy was just so good. And everyone else in the movie, and I think it might have been like this and On the Waterfront too, everyone else is still doing a very classical presentational style of acting, and he comes in and you're like, oh, that guy is that guy.
Right.
So good.
Yeah, we had the YouTube because Taylor's he was in Guys and Dolls. I was like, well, I want to see Brando sing, And then of course the first comment is I came here to see Brando sing, and it's just as Brando. He's just doing that voice, which I can't do, but it's funny when you get to a place where same with Nicholson, you just become more Nicholson, you become more De Niro. You get to a certain place where you're oh, you just become a caricature of what you were,
Yeah.
Same with Denzel Washington. Every fucking movie now, he does that Training Day thing where he's my man, and you're that's that doesn't work for fucking flight. You know what I mean? Like it works for training day. It doesn't work for everything, you know?
Right.
Did you hear the audio of Robert De Niro when his car wasn't there to pick him up?
No.
No, what is it?
Recently, or is it older?
I think it's older. I think he had to go to court or something, and he went in, and when he came out, there was all paparazzi, and he thought he was going to do the move where, like, you walk out of the building, you walk right into the car. And he went to where the car was, and the car's not there. So he gets his phone out, and he calls the driver, and it's a scene from Casino. Like, he's like, I told you to sit right in front of the courthouse. And he's like, you can't hear the other guy's side, so it's even funnier. He's like, I don't care if they chase you away. You tell them who you are and who you're waiting for. And he does the whole thing. And all the paparazzi are there getting every second.
Oh, no.
It's amazing.
The best acting he's done in years.
Yeah.
I got to shake his hand one time, and I fucked it up. I botched a handshake. It was like this breakfast at like Tribeca. For some reason, I was a judge in the short film section one year at Tribeca. One of the dumbest decisions they've ever made to have me there. And there's a breakfast that they do with everyone involved. And Jane Rosenthal, who produces a lot of movies with Scorsese. She did The Irishman most recently.
Oh, nice.
She's walking me around. She's super nice. She's walking me around.
That movie gave my girlfriend a UTI. It cost me sex for like a month. 3.5 hours. We saw it in the theaters. I'm sorry to interrupt your story, but
no.
It's a good movie. I don't know. It was
long. I think me and my girlfriend's brother went to go see it, and we like made sure to like not drink anything 2 hours before. We had to plan around the movie. But she's parading me around this breakfast, and she goes, "I want to introduce you to Bob." And I was like, "Bob," and I see Robert De Niro, and then and she goes, "Bob, this is Kassem. He's one of the judges," and he's like, he didn't really say much, and then he puts his hand out, and I grab it, but I grab like the tips. Like this, and then I go, and then I re-engaged for a real one. But it was like this.
You blew it.
I fucking blew it. And I think about it every day. And
he probably does too.
Did you work any day? I saw you in The Joker. It was so funny because I was like, you were in the movie The Joker, and then you were one of the comics in the movie, and then I was like, oh, that's Gary Goldman. I know Gary Goldman, but then I was like, oh, that's Sam Morril. Like, and my girlfriend's like, who? I mean, this was months ago.
Yeah. So was everyone else. So like, why did they say his name?
I was like, no, this guy's Sam. He's super funny.
For some reason, Todd Phillips just kept my name in. I'm like, that made I appreciate it. It makes no sense. Why?
Well, how did that happen? Do you know Todd, or did he just approach you? What
no, I didn't know him at all. But I think he just saw a clip, and he, as you said, Gary Goldman, who's a brilliant stand-up. Watch his HBO special you haven't seen on The
Great Depression.
Oh my God, it's incredible. But Gary's been a friend of mine for many years, and Gary and I are pretty tight. So it's weird that Gary like weirdly kind of changed my career in a lot of ways, because I opened for him on the road, and he got me an audition at the Comedy Cellar. He got me my first manager. He's such a great guy, and weirdly we're the two guys that he went to for stand up in the movie. And they said Todd Phillips was going to call you, but I was like, all right. And then he could have been cooler. He fucking was awesome. And one thing I remember about the shoot was like, so I did like, they told me just do stand up from the 80s, just make it like your act, but the 80s. So I was like, all right. So I did different material every take, because I don't want the crowd to have to fake it. That'd be weird to me if they're fake laughing. I'm sure some people do that, but for me, I'm not an actor. I'm a comic, so it would weird me out. And so I remember I did one joke about how my ex would say, "You made me come." That was like the one part of the joke, is like how she would like give me credit for the orgasm, but then the whole joke was like, then she'd be like, "All right, stay still." And I'd be like, all right. And she's like, all right, I just came. And I'm like, that was me. That was a joke. So, so I remember I did that, and Todd, like every joke killed. And that was one that bombed. And Todd Phillips came in. He's like, hey, no more of that. And I was like, okay. Like, I don't know what that is. Just like sex jokes. I was like, all right. And then, but the crowd was expecting me to suck. So they were pretty juiced. They were pretty hot. And then I also remember Joaquin Phoenix like comes over, and I'm like, I don't know if I talk to this guy. What do I do? Right. His whole thing is he goes up and bombs after me. So that was so fucking weird. because it was scary. I had like flashbacks to when I did open mics, and you see these unhinged people walk in, and you're like, I guess I got to just sit and watch. Is this guy going to shoot me after his fucking closer? You know? So then Joaquin Phoenix goes on, and it's creepy. It's great. He's great in it. And then he starts chatting me up, and he was like, I really like your stand-up. I was like, oh, wow. In front of everybody saying this, he's been very friendly. And I don't know if he's like, he's one of those like method actors or what. And he's like, I really like it. He's like, most comics are desperate and you're not. And my first thought was like, dude, you're an actor. That's like the most desperate. You're like, we're all desperate. Well, all of us are desperate. Totally. But I think he just meant like you keep it like for the most part pretty silly, I was like, all right, I get that. But yeah, I mean, he crushed that movie. He's amazing. He's the movie,
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember when I was like kind of following that movie, and I was like, I remember like a year before when they announced, or however many months before they announced Joaquin was going to do it. I'm like, that's like one of the handful of guys that can really make this work. Mm-hmm. And he did a press tour for this movie, The Sisters Brothers, that he was in before, but he was currently shooting Joker, and he like was doing this presser trying to answer questions about this movie that he already did, but he was already in full Joker mode. He was all skinny. His hair was like in a like weird ponytail. He was not into it at all. And I was like, oh, this dude's committed to whatever he's doing right now. He doesn't give a shit about whatever he just did. This movie has
Isn't that great though, that he just gets to be an asshole, and we're like, this guy's committed to his craft.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally.
What a great gig that
he's earned that.
We don't give that fucking benefit of the doubt to Rob Schneider. Maybe he's prepping for a role,
Poor guy.
That's on Your Mom's House, Tom and Christina's podcast. They talk about how like actors get away, like where if stand-up comedians try to talk the way that actors talk, like they not only would they not be accepted by fans, all the other stand-ups would hate them. Where like with actors, it's like, you could get away with so much.
Yeah, it's true. I swear to God, sometimes I'll see them go on like any like interview show. I'll see them go on if I'm doing like a late night appearance, and I'm like, please be funny. Because I've seen people, I had to follow like Cory Booker once on the Tonight Show. And I was like, oh my God, I have to follow Hope. This is brutal. You know what I mean? I mean, sometimes they just think he's at least a good public speaker, but he's not me. He's not what I'm doing. So
right.
I remember I followed a couple actors on those things where it just takes the energy out of the room sometimes, because they're just, some of them are prepped for that stuff and some of them just aren't,
People like Cory, their job in a lot of ways is like the antithesis of what a stand-up does. Their job is to always say the right thing, right? Like,
that's true.
What can I say that will offend like the least amount of people, and then also get people to like think I'm a good guy, regardless of whether he is or not. Stand-up is kind of like, what can I say that's like utterly wrong and ridiculous, but still make it funny or still get people on my side? It's kind of, that's a terrible booking. You know what I mean? But also there's a level of skill that a politician has to have that is not unlike stand-up, I think.
Oh yeah. He won my mom over in the green room. My mom was like, Mr. Booker, what you're doing in New Jersey. I'm like, all right, Jesus. I mean, I just performed too, Mom, shit.
I heard you talk a lot about your mom and how supportive she is. And it's so nice, but it's also, you have had like an interesting sort of childhood. I mean, you have a stepdad, but he's like kind of like your dad because
he's my dad. Yeah, I call him dad. Yeah.
And then you have this sort of what sounds like a weird relationship with like your biological father.
Oh yeah,
I heard you talking about how you kind of like will run into him time to time, but
he lives in my area, which is weird. It's like I should have just I got a good deal on a place, so I'm like, man, it sucks. So then he moved pretty close to where I live in the city. And then we go to I was at the rec center and I saw him, like he was doing like physical therapy at the rec center. And I just have to like run. I go there to swim or play basketball sometimes.
Yeah.
And you have to run into him. It's pretty awkward.
Wow.
I can't imagine what that's like. Do you attribute that sort of like, I mean, when did you start developing a sense of humor? And was it like a coping mechanism, or was was your mom funny? Did you get
Yeah,
it
my
from
mom
her?
is funny. She's a funny person, and she's also got a good sense of humor, and she's got a great laugh. So,
Oh, nothing better.
Yeah, it's great, but she's also very proper. So I definitely rebelled against that. Where she would be like, "Oh, Sam," and that would be like, "Oh, that's funny." If she's reacting like that too, so I'd like find out right with them. I remember I was listening to a Chris Rock album when I was a kid, and she saw the CD player, and I was laughing, and she grabbed the headphones, started listening, and I just saw this look of horror on her face. And then like 30 seconds later, she started laughing so hard. And I was like, oh, fuck, that's how you know Rock is a genius, is that he can push you away and then pull you right back in. And to push you away with a premise and then win you over with a punchline. I was like, oh, that's what I love about comedy. So that was like, so my mom is definitely big for like, I'll run jokes by her. I mean, I'll bounce bits on her because she's got a great sense of humor. So
that's so cool. I love that.
Yeah, she's very open-minded. For sure.
I think the timing with your special coming out during like the pandemic, I mean, it's fucking awful, this whole pandemic thing, but like what a perfect moment to upload an hour stand-up special.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everyone's craving content. And you can't really tour. I imagine you're still not touring, right?
It's brutal, man. I was the type of guy that would do like 4 shows a night in New York, or I would try to do the road every weekend. I got addicted to it. I just kind of learned to love the road because I just thought it was the only way, and I feel like my friends are that way too. Is that it's not ideal to be on the road for 4 straight nights at a club, but I started to like it because I'd see the jokes grow and I'd see that my material will get tighter. So I think it's important to fall in love with the road if you're going to do this, but it does make it hard to be in a relationship or to start a family. So there are drawbacks for sure.
Yeah. I want to touch on that. You're dating Taylor Tomlinson, who's a very funny stand-up in her own right. I was always told to stay away from comedians.
Me too, man. I'm an idiot. I guess I just like, I've dated one comic before, as you said before, and Taylor's great, and she's so smart and funny. I was kind of drawn to her act because she's, I saw her, I think on Fallon or Conan. I think Fallon first, and she crushed it. She had such tight jokes, and I was like, man, I just respected her. So I just wrote her a message like, "What a great set! Like so tight, like keep up the great work," or something like that. And it was just, I didn't. She wasn't, I think, engaged at the time. I wasn't like trying to slide into her DMs. I was just like, fucking great. I love comedy, So then, I ended up it just happened kind of organically. It wasn't like I was trying to, but I think she's fucking adorable and hilarious. So why would I not try?
Why do they say to not date a comic? Because
it sucks to be on the road and you're sitting in the green room and you see that person's face like coming next week and you're like, fuck, I got to see that face for the rest of my life. That's a bummer. It's
after you break up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a small world and we all work the same rooms and like, God, like all of us are going to be at the Comedy Cellar, like out here, maybe the Comedy Store. You have to see faces and also like, it's good. I think in any art form, comedy, music, acting, whatever, to have a little mystique and maybe not have everyone know every fucking bad thing about you. And I'm sure everyone knows that about me now. So there's, there's better things, but.
Yeah. I mean, Jamie, you've dated actors before. Do you find that rule applies or, because you ended up marrying a baseball player. I mean,
yeah, I only dated one actor ever.
I know him. He's a buddy of mine.
He's great, but
he's a great guy.
He's not like Jerry's like he's like a dude. Like he to me was like a guy I grew up with, like a New York dude. So it didn't feel like he's not very actory. I don't know.
Not at all. Yeah.
No.
I don't think so.
So
only guy who loves the Knicks as much as me too.
Oh yeah. Oh, he loves the Knicks. And the Giants, right? I don't know. I think after Jerry, I became kind of like a cleat chaser. So I was like clearly always into like guys that are into sports.
Cleat chaser? That's a thing, huh?
Apparently, right?
Oh, wow.
You can go by profession, but you can't go by race. That's when it gets fucking iffy, right?
No, straight profession.
So you've been in LA this whole time, like since the pandemic, this lockdown?
The longest in my life that I've ever not been in New York. It's insane.
Wow.
And it's been like one thing after another. Like, dude, my fucking agent just got fired while she's on maternity leave. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Jesus.
So I'm getting like all these phone calls from like random, I'm like, fuck, LA, let me fucking hide. Yeah. I just want some stability in my life. I just want to hide for a few days.
Yeah.
And I've been here for like, it's been almost 3 months, I think. I came here after a weekend in Michigan, and I just planned my plan was I was here in February to do some podcasts and stuff to promote the special. And I told Taylor, like, you owe me. I've been in LA a lot. You got to spend some New York time. And she said, I'm totally, like, we were going to do a couple months in each coast and just keep doing that. And we were both cool with that. And here I am for like the last 3 months now. So crazy. But it's all right. I mean, I'm better off. I live in a studio in New York, and she's got a 2-bedroom here. So for quarantining, are you guys all in LA?
Yeah. I was talking to a friend in New York yesterday, though, and she said it's just so weird to be in a city like New York City and there's nothing to do. Like, even if she wanted to go outside, like there's nothing to do in New York City. Like,
you don't live in New York for the apartment. You live for the other stuff, you know?
Exactly.
But
what do you guys do? I mean, have you had a chance to get out, or you guys, I can see you started a podcast together. By the way, it's called This Is Important to Me. It's a movie podcast that you do.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Where they each pick their own movie each week.
It's relatable. Yeah. It's because we're a new-ish couple, and we both, we're doing that thing. We're like, this movie's important to me, and so you should see this movie. And then, every once in a while we're like cheating. I've seen way more movies than her because I'm 7 years older than her, but she, I'd never seen Harry Potter, so that was a popular one. Or like, there's I just never got. I was like, I don't give a shit. If you read the books, I get it, but I never read the books. And then, but movies like that, everyone wanted to do a John Wick episode, so I was like, all right, she's watching John Wick. Just made her watch Midnight Run, which is one of my favorites.
Oh, yeah.
We're watching some great movies. I made her watch Chinatown, and she was furious with me. She was like, it's just going to end like that? I'm like, yeah, that's the movie. I was like, what do you think? She like comes back to life? You know what I mean? Like, it's over. It's fucking done.
Things were different, dude. There was a lot of like Jack Nicholson slapping her around.
I know.
And
the good old days.
I was
just like when you could,
movies in the 70s would just end, and you're like, I guess that's, you know what I mean? It's crazy. It was just a guy would get like shot in the face, and it'd be like the credits, and you're like, all right, I guess.
Plus, COVID is bringing domestic abuse back.
Oh yeah, it's true.
It's true. Not here. She's fucking. It's bringing emotional abuse back, but not domestic.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jamie. Sorry.
I was going to say, what a great concept for a podcast. I love that, because my husband gets frustrated with me. I feel like I've barely seen any movies, and we have 2 small children. So like my window is very small at night, but I feel like once they're a little older, like I can't wait for him to make me watch all the movies that he's constantly talking about.
What is he pushing on you?
What's he pushing on me? I mean, the last movie he got me to watch that I'm ashamed to say I never saw was Point Break.
Wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm. But that was pre-quarantine. Now I literally have like an episode of television at night, and I'm done.
Yeah.
That's Lori Petty in Point Break, right?
Yes, it is.
Oh,
sometimes I'll see her in Venice Beach. I don't know if she's on the wagon, off the wagon, but she's a character. She's a character.
Is she like talking to herself? What do you mean?
Well, I remember.
It doesn't sound good. This doesn't sound like.
My brother has a story where she freaked out on him on the boardwalk, and he didn't know it was her. And then somebody pulled him aside. He's like, "Yeah, that's Lori Petty." He didn't know who that was. And I'm like, he came and told me about it. I'm like, yeah, that's a chick from Point Break. Like, super. I thought she was super cute and hot in that movie. And he's like, dude, I don't think she's doing so hot. And I hate to like start rumors about actresses, but guys, she needs our help. She's
Lori Petty.
not going that well. Yeah.
Damn.
Well, what did your brother do to get yelled at?
Well, he was. I I don't know if I don't want to out anyone in whatever program that they're in, but I think, it might have had something to do with a meeting that they were both at.
Okay.
Oh, shit.
I have no idea.
So she's trying.
I think she tried.
Man, this city will fucking break you, man. This city is like isolating as hell. Like I in New York, there's like a sense of community, or there was pre-pandemic. Like you ride the subway with people, even fucking Bloomberg when he was the mayor would be like, let me at least have the illusion that I'm one of you. And we know you're not, but thank you for pretending, you know? And out here, it's like you're in your own car, you're in your own space. Now it's like everywhere's like that. But I always felt that like this is the place to go insane.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this is Sunset Boulevard. This is this is where it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never realized until I got sober-ish, like 27 or something, that in New York City, the best part is like, if you're bored or if you're whatever, you can just grab the keys off the counter and just go. Like, you don't have to be like, okay, do you want to meet at 8:00? And did we get a table? It's like, grab your keys, go. You come home 4 hours later and you're like, man, what a great Saturday that was. Like, I literally I walked, all of a sudden I was in front of my friend's apartment. I called him, he came down, we grabbed coffee. And it's like, that was a great day. We're in LA. It's so much more, you kind of have to plan stuff because other people plan shit, because you have to.
Planning is exhausting, isn't it? Don't you just feel you ever have a friend who's like, what are you doing 2 weeks from Tuesday? And I'm like, fucking kill me. It's like, I feel like I'm drowning when I hear that, I
actually, nothing makes me happier when somebody texts me and cancels plans.
Oh, it's the best.
They become my favorite person instantly. Like, do you mind? I'm like, no, thank you.
I was on a phone call with a friend. We were FaceTiming and we got disconnected. Neither of us called the other one back, and it felt good. I was like, that's like a closeness.
That's a good friend right there.
It is. Yeah, it felt good. And I have friends that like will make plans. I'll make plans with friends like, let's see a movie Wednesday, and they just don't. They don't like. We agree to see a movie Wednesday, and then neither of us text the other one, and that's like to me like. That is what a friend is. It's someone that you can you almost just like knew the other one was like, I can't do it. So I love people like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's so great about doing a podcast with people is you don't feel the need to make plans because you're like, oh, Thursday we're doing the podcast. So why are we going to be like, hey, Tuesday, do you want to make, like I still make the mistake sometimes of like thinking I want to make plans with someone. So I'll make plans with someone on like a week from now. And then like, I'm actually okay with it. If it's on a Wednesday, I'm okay with it until like Tuesday night. And then Tuesday night, it really hits me where I'm like, God, I hate you for doing this to us. Like I get really mad at myself.
You just think worst case scenarios, right?
Yeah,
you don't think like it's going to be a nice day catching up. You're like, fuck, this person's just going to talk at me,
Yeah, I'm like, I have to put pants on and like socks, then sneakers, then my shirt. Like,
what are shoes, by the way? I can't remember. I mean, I have one pair of shoes that I keep wearing to go for like a bike ride with my kids. Other than that, I don't know anything about shoes at all.
It's overwhelming now because, I have people coming out of the woodwork that are like, we should catch up. And I'm like, we didn't talk for the last 15 fucking years, but because of Zoom, people are like, well, it's like lunch and there's no commute. So just do it. And
right.
But it's still draining, Socializing is draining for me.
Again.
When this whole thing started, I feel like everyone's like, yeah, let's hop on Zoom. Like, what are you doing from 8 to 9? Let's hop on Zoom. And then like now, we're making it clear, like, yeah, just 30 minutes. Like we can't do any more than 30 minutes. Cause I think people are realizing like, it's kind of tough to talk to somebody for an hour and to keep the conversation going.
It's brutal. And I'll tell you, like, I did like a college friend Zoom where we all Zoomed and I just feel like all the things they're reminiscing about are things that I missed out on because I was just doing stand up every night. So they're like, remember Doug's wedding? And I'm like, no, I fucking couldn't get out of it. It just makes me sad. I'm just like, I guess I just missed out on life because I had to I felt like if I took a night off for one thing, I couldn't do it for another thing. I just feel like I had to just say no to everything to get anywhere in this because it just, there's so many funny comics. So I feel like I had to just to never take a night off.
Well, where do you
remember Doug's wedding? Like, yeah, I was at the Chuckle Hut in Wisconsin.
It's so fucking sad. Some of the gigs I've been at, I really think like, I swear to God, I say strip mall and people laugh. I'm like, no, it's really a fucking strip. I really am performing at strip malls like most weekends.
Yeah, I did stand up for like 2 years before I got on YouTube, but it was like the roughest 2 years of my life. But I remember one of them was a Chinese restaurant, and there was a piano in it, and they moved the piano 5 feet over, and then they would put up a curtain, but you could still see everyone eating Chinese. And their whole gig was like, hey, when you're done eating your dinner, if you want to come over here for a couple of drinks, we have stand up happening. And like maybe a few people would trickle in, and then maybe peek their. Every once in a while, you see somebody peek their head over the curtain, then just go
change their mind. Yeah, that's a lot of people don't know this, but they would have gigs called ambush gigs, which is where it's exactly what it sounds like. The audience didn't know there'd be a show. You'd be in like a restaurant, they'd be like, here's like whatever money, just go up and just do comedy. And but this is not good for anybody. You know what I mean? Like I'm on stage like, what's wrong with you people? And they're like, we don't know. Like we didn't come to see a fucking comedy show. We're trying to have a conversation. You know? Yeah. There's no winners. It sucks.
I think what you do is the hardest thing in the world. No, well, I really bow down to stand-up comics because I think it takes a level of bravery and intelligence and wit and like.
It's also fun as hell.
I'm sure when it's probably the greatest thing in the world when it's working. And I'm so glad to see it working well.
I think acting to me would terrifies me so much more because like you're waiting on other people so much. The auditioning part just would make me insane. Like I read some of these things. Like I feel like they are like thinking no to me the second I walk in. They're like, look at this fucking idiot. He walked in wrong. Like I feel like I have no idea what I'm doing on these auditions. So, you know.
Yeah, I sometimes will talk to people and some of my actor buddies, and I'll ask them about like auditioning because it's such a thing. I'm so bad at it. And I like to hear what a good one sounds like and how like people book the roles that they booked. And sometimes you'll get like somebody who will say like, yeah, I just went in there, I pulled out a pack of cigarettes, I lit it, I pulled my pants down and I slapped my dick on both thighs and then walked out and then I got the role. And it's like, I'm walking in, I'm like shaking, I'm nervous. I don't know what hand to put the script. You know, it's like, should I read my line, then look up and react? I mean, some people, I think
your buddy Tony just came on and was like, I booked the 2 biggest roles of my life by literally shoving my asshole in their faces.
Yeah.
Like his bare asshole.
It is a skill that I do not possess.
You say like walk in wrong. I swear I walked into an audition one time and there was a chair like where the X is, where the camera's pointing at. And I sat in the chair and the woman's like, oh, you want to sit? Okay. I was like, yeah, but I go to stand. She's like, no, if you want to sit, you could sit. And I'm like, I felt like as if like, oh, you're not going to give a great performance because you just sat in the chair. Like you fell for the thing, you know?
Oh, I remember I auditioned for Amy Schumer's movie Trainwreck, and Amy like probably helped me get the audition. She's a friend and she's done a lot for me. And I was reading with my friend and he was like, dude, you got to stand out. You got to go off the rails. So I was playing like this guy she had a one night stand with in the audition. And he was like, take your shirt off in the audition and just fucking riff. And I was like, yeah, I should do that. I fucking did it. The casting woman looked at me like, huh, okay, thanks. And I told a friend of mine did that. He goes, are you out of your fucking mind? You took your shirt off? And I was like, oh yeah, I don't have like a good body, so I thought it would be funny. It's not like it's not like I'm ripped, you know what I mean? So my friend who egged me on, he only gives me horrible advice. He's and I know that now, you know.
You look like you'd have a very hairy chest too.
It's a fucking mess.
I'd love to run my fingers.
It's just like, and I got a tattoo that says Yugoslavia lives right here. And I'm kidding. I don't. I'm just hairy. But no, I'm a hairy guy for sure.
What do you do? So say you come back to stand up. Oh, by the way, do you have anything planned? Because I know some people like have dates in August and stuff like that. I mean, what's your plan there?
Well, I canceled all of June already, which is brutal. But then I have Boston and Nashville in July, and I don't know. I mean, I could probably do Nashville. Boston is going to be a little more complicated, but I'm just kind of nervous to get on a flight. I'm not. I got really sick of a couple weeks ago. I got to get tested. I had like a fever of 101. I'm such a coward. I mean, like I was just thinking like, man, I'm in pain. I was just thinking of like POWs and shit and people who are like really brave and are like, I won't talk. And I was like, I will tell anyone anything for this to stop. But yeah, and Taylor's taking care of me, and she was I was just thinking of people dying alone. Like that's what this is. It's the worst. It's horrible. So I don't want to feel like that I've been that sick on the road, and it's just hell. Maybe not that sick, but I've been sick on the road where like I go on because I have to. I mean, I did a gig in Springfield, Missouri a year ago at this little room like near the Ozarks. It's like a great little secret room called the Blue Room, and I was in the ER. I went straight from the ER to the gig because I was just like, fuck it. What else? What am I going to not perform? I'm already here,
Yeah.
So I just did it with like I was weak as hell. I had some 24-hour bug that I was just dehydrated as hell. I had to sit down, but the crowds were so good that it didn't really, they could see how weakened I was. And they're like, let's fucking be here for him. So, which is not what you want out of a crowd either. Like that they're that fucking, they're doing me a favor.
Are they even going to let like a regular size crowd into places? I mean, it's going to be so limited now, right? I mean, it's going to be so fucking weird.
People who are playing theaters and arenas are going to suffer more, but then also maybe not because those are bigger, so you can space people out more.
Right.
Whereas I'm in clubs. All my dates coming up are in clubs, and they're it'll be interesting. I don't know what we're going to do. I kind of said, look, I'll do more shows a night because I'm out of shape in comedy. I need to get my rhythm back, and I'm down to do a couple shows a night each night, but and do 3 or 4 nights. But yeah, I don't know. August, I had a New York date at Gotham I was pumped about, and that we moved out to September. Might have to move it again. I don't know what's going to happen, and I feel like kind of an asshole going on social media and being like, "Come see me in Nashville." Like, is that ethical? I don't know.
I don't think. I mean, I like seeing things like that because I like the idea that things are like the positivity of it and the things to look forward to and still talking. And if it gets postponed, it gets postponed. But I don't think there's anything wrong with you putting that out there from my eyes.
Yeah, it's just weird to see some comics going out there and they're the guinea pigs, because I also can't really drive. Like my agent before she was fired was like, go to Arizona. And I was like, how? Like, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to walk? I'm not going to get on a plane yet. And, but then there's some people doing that. I saw like, Brendan Schaub and Brian Callen are doing Texas this weekend, I think. And, I guess they'll, if anyone should go out, it's Brendan Schaub, who's like a former fighter. Like that guy's probably got the best immune system of any of us. So,
But he said he was angry that people give him dirty looks when he goes into Starbucks with no mask.
I think you should wear a mask.
Oh, yeah.
I think if you're going to a place that serves food, just wear the mask.
Just wear a mask. Like what? It's not hard. Just fucking wear a mask. Remember when they said wearing a mask didn't help?
Yes.
Like, all these people were like, it actually doesn't help. And I was like, well, it can't hurt. Like,
No.
You know what I mean? This is like you're covering holes. Isn't that where it goes in? You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
I don't know. I was on flights wearing them before this shit because I was always nervous. Not every trip, but I always had. Taylor was very nervous about this stuff because we would both get sick a lot just because we're on planes every.
Right.
I think before this hit, between us, we were probably in like 6 cities in the last like 2 weeks. So we're always on planes. So I was always covering up if I could.
I was living in Vegas for a while, and I had like a little packet when people would come visit me because I'd be like, everyone who flies here gets sick. Everyone. Like if you're going on a plane for more than 2 or 3 hours, you're like more than 50% chance of getting sick. And then like everyone's first 2 days in Vegas is always extremely crazy and unhealthy. And I'm like, trust me, just take this vitamin C and this like ginger thing. And people in my family are like, oh, this is disgusting. I'm like, it's just take it.
I take that stuff. I go to Pharmaca. I take all that stuff. I'm crazy with that stuff. And I had friends making fun of me, and now they're all like, wait, where do you get that?
Yeah.
I was in Michigan the week before it got really bad, and I found this little health food place, and this fucking old man with a ponytail was like, this COVID thing is bullshit. Take these little tree bark tablets. And I was like, got it. Awesome.
So you're doing clubs, and a lot of the dates you said you have are clubs coming up. But also in the last like 2 months, you've definitely ascended. into another
we'll
level.
see. I don't know.
Well, yeah. So I want to know, like, is that going to translate into ticket sales for you? Can you start playing bigger gigs? I mean, I'm super interested in like the meta game of comedy and like watching people sort of break and like, I mean, what can we expect?
I don't know, because all these agents are in the prestige and like bigger venues and theaters, but I really do love comedy clubs. And there's something about like the reps and all my favorite comics were kind of like that. Like Bill Burr, I think, played clubs as long as he could. Dave Attell is still in
Dave
clubs.
Attell. Yeah.
I mean, like these guys are club rats. And I think like, that's why I shot my special. I mean, my special before this was in a theater, and Comedy Central paid for it to look really nice and all that. But I feel more comfortable in a club, and that's why I did it at the Comedy Cellar, because I'm there so much that why not just show this is how I am normally, this is how I perform normally, as opposed to like throwing on a blazer and all this shit. Sometimes comics become something that's not them. And I think you just got to stay you as much as possible and
sure.
dress like you dress, and, maybe like a little better if it's a special, but like, some people are like, I'm going to be a suit comic. And I was like, fuck, the dry cleaning alone, it seems like a nightmare. I'm not doing that.
I thought you did your last one at the Cellar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it looked great, and there's something very like intimate about the Cellar, and
that was my own guys. I mean, we got no offers on that one, so I that was my camera crew, that was my set designer for my last special. Amazing amount. These people who I work with are just so great. Jason Katz directed it, and he just was like, he worked on some project with Mark Normand, who also is a special out right now.
You both
on YouTube.
Yeah, you both put out specials on YouTube, and so I wanted to ask if I can interrupt you again. Is there like a strategy with going to YouTube versus like another platform, or? I got
no bites, honestly. I got really no interest. HBO for a minute seemed interested, and they were like, let us figure it out for like 2 weeks, and then they passed. And I think they kind of like more prestige type of picks. Like they want like, Rami, or like he's on HBO.
Or like Whitmer Thomas, who had his mom die, and he built a whole act around it. Yeah.
They want a story, I think. And for me, the story is like, this is just a guy who writes good jokes. It's not like an interesting story, really. So, and I think same goes for Mark. So, we had the same agent, and I think she tried for both of us, and God bless her. But, I think for whatever reason, they're just like not into it. And look, Mark's about to hit 1 million views quicker than I did. Mark's special is so great, and he's been one of my longest friends in the business. So I'm really happy for him, and hopefully we don't have to do it again. It feels good that we've gotten results, but also you're like, God, I mean, like, how much do we have to fucking prove before someone just like takes a chance on us? Like the first one I went ahead without Amy Schumer, like no one would have bought it if she wasn't like, I'm producing it. So at a certain point, you're like, all the comics have helped me. When is the other side going to help? And hopefully the next one.
Yeah, I think you're lined up perfectly. I mean, it seems
you
like
say that. I have no faith in the industry. At all,
but like you can kind of see where you're positioned in the landscape, and it's like, but also now you got to come up with another hour, right? Because you put that whole hour down.
I had like a new 45. I was pretty happy with on the road before this hit.
Oh, okay.
And now this moment I have 0 because I'm gonna have to relearn that 45 minutes.
Well, how long does it take you to craft an hour? Because your specials, I mean, if you were to compare it to a lot of others, you just have so many jokes, as opposed to like somebody who's just like more of a storyteller, who can just like take a story and do 20 minutes on, some guy at a grocery store or something like that. I mean, I appreciate your style just because you're hitting me like a lot, and they're all funny. I mean, everything that was in that special, there weren't any duds. There were just bits that were better. You know what I mean?
You cut and you cut. And here's the thing, like Netflix and HBO and all these places for some reason are like, they're fixated on the hour model or the half hour model. I put out a 47 or 48 minute special, and it's like, why can't it be what you feel it should be? They don't do that with movies. Some places still do that with TV shows. I think people are obsessed with time marks when it should just be whatever it is. Richard Pryor has an album that's like 34 minutes. Just put out what you think is good, And, I had more material there, but some of it was like, I don't want to give all this material away for free. I'll save it for the next one. And then some of it I thought was like a little hacky and I could do better. So I dropped it. And then I just want to make sure nothing was done by anyone else. So I went, Norman is my buddy. He listened to the whole set. He was like, it sounds good to me. Maybe Taylor, I think, said maybe drop this one bit, but otherwise it sounds good. And then that was the plan. So I hope the next one can end up somewhere, but I'm also, I don't want to wait around for other people to tell me I'm ready. And I think, you said it's tight. I think it's just tight with a lot of jokes because you keep honing it in these club dates. So that's where that comes from.
So with Taylor, how do you make that move from like, okay, she's a friend, or I see her, like that first time where you're like, I'm gonna make this move?
I think we just started talking a lot. We just started like texting. She was at a club. I was at another club, and we're just like, I was like, oh, I've never played that club, and she said, I've never played yours, and I think it just turned into like chatting and then talking comedy and then talking some life stuff. And she was, I think, at the last stages of her separation from her fiance. So she would kind of make a comment about that here and there. And then talking about that, I think I was like, is she talking to me about this? Like, this is, and then I was like, is she flirting with me? I can't tell. But then I'm also like, she's a comic. You got to like, that's what,
right.
You got to kind of pull back a little bit because I don't want to fall face first here. And then finally it just turned into, talking on the phone. And then one night we talked on the phone for like 7 hours. I was like, all right, I think she might like me. I'm that fucking stupid.
That's the best, when you just start dating someone and you just talk for hours.
Yeah,
I mean,
but it was like,
they don't know how shitty you are yet. And then
now I'm like,
though.
my husband's like, let's hang out today. I'm like, no.
Those guys really love that part of the relationship.
It's great, man. And so we kind of went there, and then, there were some speed bumps early on, but, she's such a fun hang,
What's it like to get into an argument with a comic on a personal level that isn't your buddy?
She's a Jedi. It's brutal.
Yeah.
She really, man, I did a bit about this because this is one of the last bits I wrote before the everything turned to shit. But basically, I said how every argument we have is like, because we're both in therapy, so every argument is like, I hear you and I appreciate where you're coming from, like a 7-hour argument. And then I heard a guy in Times Square say to his girlfriend, "Shut up, bitch." And I was like, that's not cool, but he is crushing me in time management, So that was that was the last bit. And the truth is, she's been in therapy for a long time, and she's very aware. But like, damn, like, so every once in a while, like when I fuck up and we're on lockdown like this, I feel it. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But she's pretty fair, and I'm an idiot. So
You talked about on your special, like hearing your neighbors argue, and that's like that. When I realized that, like, 12 years old, I was going to be addicted to reality TV before it even came out. I intercepted someone's phone call while I was on the phone with my friend. Yeah. And after like 5 minutes, my friend was like, "Oh, I stopped listening." I was like, "I listened the whole, I wanted more." Like, I would try and stand in that same part of the apartment. I was like, I just want that again. It was like listening to people talk. I think that's why I love podcasts too. It's like social interactions without having to be social.
Yeah.
So true. And it's weird, right? Because sometimes I'll be in a restaurant and you hate being that person who's sitting alone and there's like two people next to you and you're like, oh, am I that asshole? So it's rude to eavesdrop, but every once in a while you're around lunatics and you just can't look away. And that's what that bit is. I mean, that they brought that on themselves. They were just screaming like lunatics. And
growing up in New York City, you're always around so many lunatics that when you get to hear it from like a foot away without them knowing you're lit, it's the dream for me,
It really is. It's pretty crazy. And that's what I miss about the subway. It's just like you have your earbuds in, you're listening to a song and you see someone saying something crazy and you're like, fuck the music. This is the show,
Yeah.
So I miss that. When's the subway going to be back? God damn. It's like, it's something like that was the whole thing Taylor said, like, are you going to take the subway when you're back in New York? And I was just like, I can't imagine a world where I don't know.
Yeah. Rob won't even Uber to my house. I asked him to come over. And he's like,
You want Uber?
No, he won't Uber.
I don't think I will either.
Not to go see Kassem. I mean, if I had to do something, maybe if Jamie wanted to hang out or something important,
Do you not drive either, Rob?
I don't have a car, no. I don't drive. I hate it. I love Ubering is just the dream. I love it so much.
I'm the same way. I can't really drive, so.
You grew up in New York City too, yeah?
I did, yeah.
So you just like, why would I? What schools did you go to?
I went to a school called Browning on Upper East Side.
Okay, yeah. I grew up on Upper East Side.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
I went to Wagner on 76.
Oh my God. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Oh my God. That's wild.
Do you guys have like animal mascots in New York? Or is that just a California thing?
Yeah, rats.
Rats.
I was the Banyan Bobcats. We were the Sequoia.
I had an animal on Long Island. We were the Jericho Jayhawks.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Growing up in New York City, none of the schools I ever went to had one single sports team.
None?
Yeah.
All public school. They never had any sports teams.
We had teams, but we were trash. We were we were just terrible. I mean, I was like one of the best players in the basketball team, which should tell you everything you need to know. We were terrible.
When's speaking of sports, when's it back? Isn't the NBA season supposed to be entering what would normally be the finals?
Well, they have these players conferences now, and it's hilarious because like LeBron is one of the main guys, and he's like, "We got to bring it back," but it's like, yeah, you're 35. Like this is
right.
He doesn't give a shit if people get COVID. He's just trying to get another championship. But I miss the NBA. That's one of my main escapes is basketball. So I'm missing that.
Yeah, the Jordan doc's been really, really great.
Too good.
I mean, I don't know. Once that's over, it's like, what else is there? I don't know if there's like another sports legend like that. I would love to see one on Wayne Gretzky. I like hockey.
Yeah.
But
Kobe. Kobe is the next one. You need you need a Shaq and Kobe one because there's great drama there. And dude, doesn't it feel like Kobe died like 5 years ago?
It feels
this is
so
insane.
Long ago. When I walk down Venice Beach, there's like a mural every 2 blocks. There's a badly painted Kobe Bryant. They don't know how to paint him in Venice for whatever reason. But it does feel like that happened. This fucking year sucked, but it does feel like that happened years ago.
Yeah.
I liked in the Jordan doc. I like seeing like Jordan's like yellow eyes, like water up and tear up, but like. For the Kobe
maybe you shouldn't smoke 5 cigars a day. Maybe if you're a pro athlete, you shouldn't smoke more cigars than Che Guevara.
My girlfriend's like, is he sick? I'm like, no, he smokes. She's like, how much does he smoke? I'm like, he always has a cigar. Even in the show, he's got a cigar and a glass of scotch or whatever right next to him.
Yeah, crazy.
But even I feel like it seems so long ago. Like I water my plants every Saturday, and I feel like every time I turn around, it's time to water my plants again. Like I feel like somehow the week just completely gets away from me. I have no TV shows. I'm like, I thought I just watched that. How's the new episode at? Like it just. I used to be bad at knowing what day of the week it is, but now I'll find out that it's Tuesday at like 1 p.m. and then by 3 p.m. I think it's Thursday. You know what I mean? I can't even grasp. Once I know, I can't grasp it.
Yeah, so much of the day is a daze now because it's like we're also disconnected. We were disconnected before this because there's so much like looking at the phone and so much like disconnection from people. But now we're like actually not connected.
Yeah. Nope. Yeah, I don't turn on. I mean, my TV's only on for my kids or like whatever program we're going to watch at night. But other than that, I've stopped watching the news. I have literally no idea what's happening. I feel like if it's something important, I'll find out somehow.
Where are you in The Sopranos? These guys haven't watched their own show, by the way.
You've never seen it?
Started watching.
Well, is it just too hard to watch?
I don't know if it's just that. I think it was a little bit of that in the beginning. And then I think it was just, like I just never got around to it. Like I always meant to, but never did. And just, I don't know. It was the perfect timing because I feel like I'm at a place where I can really enjoy it as an audience and not like feel like, dissect myself or have too many like memories of specific days. Like I'm getting reminded of scenes like that I've completely forgot about. And I'm taken aback of how funny it is more than anything.
It's the funniest show. I mean, it is the funniest show.
Yeah. I'm almost through with the second season.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I can't believe it.
I know.
And you've never seen it?
He's never seen it.
I've never seen it.
You have no curiosity?
No, I get it. And I've seen it.
I get it.
Yeah. I'm not curious. Like, because you know what's really, honestly, if we didn't do read-throughs, I think I would have watched it by now.
I forgot everything, though. I'm watching it and I had forgot everything.
I forgot everything, too. But it's just like, I have such, like, my memories of everything from Sopranos, filming it, the award show, it's all perfect. And it's like, I don't want to go back and mess it up. I also don't want to watch like 80 hours of James because I think it would just be too tough. There's a lot of reasons why I don't want to watch it. Plus, I was just so fat, you know.
You were adorable.
We went through some stages, Rob. We went through some stages. But we're really
it's the best show. I'm so glad you watch it. It's really like, it's probably the show I've rewatched the most, which is crazy because it's funny as hell, but it's not a comedy. It's just funny.
No, it's so funny. It is so, like, Junior, like Dominic, is so fun. I mean, I always thought he was great when we were shooting the show, but like, if you knew him as a real life guy, he is the most soft-spoken, lovely gentleman, like, adoring his wife and so respectful. And then to see him play Junior, it's just gold. It's so fucking good.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Damn. Yeah, it really is. Like, it gets me through so much shit. Like, I don't really exercise a ton, but I got these kettlebells. I'm like, what can I do while I do kettlebells? I'm like, Sopranos is like my go-to for everything. And like, God, Ralph Cifaretto is such a fucking horrible guy, but he's such a hilarious actor. I mean, yeah, the writing is really like nothing touches it. The way that you guys talk to, you know, Tony and Carmela, it's like the most realistic way a kid would talk to their parents. It's amazing.
Do you always try and stay like watching it in order, or will you just pop on any random episode?
I'll usually go in order, but I could put on any episode. Like, I mean, goddamn, Christopher makes me laugh so hard. I mean, every character just makes me laugh. I don't think there's a character that I don't like. It's just like, and I think that speaks to like, just the writing is like so top notch. It's so good, but everything's good and shit. My buddy Chris DiStefano said he saw Tony Sirico in a store and it just like made him so happy. And I was like, oh, that's The Sopranos. The show just like makes you happy, I think. It's like, so that's why Taylor is shocked that I can just rewatch it because of the violence. But like, I know when to look away. I'm not going to like, you know, like the strip club episode with, like, I'm not going to look at those scenes. Like that scenes, you know, there's certain scenes you just know to kind of bail on. And then you get all the funny scenes of like Tony with Dr. Melfi and like, I don't want to fuck my mother. It's like hilarious. You know?
I remember at like my confirmation or my communion, whatever the last one is, I think it was confirmation. I invited a bunch of people from Sopranos and like Tony Sirico showed up in like the double-breasted suit with like, he came over to me and like pulled an envelope out of his jacket and gave me a kiss on the cheek. And he's like, yeah, I'm proud of you, you know, like the whole thing. But I remember like inviting them made my confirmation zero about me. And everybody from my family was just like staring at them the entire, until like I was able to go out and sneak smoking cigarettes and do whatever I wanted because my whole family was just watching their table. You know, it was like Vincent Pastore who played Big Pussy, Tony, all these good, and they all brought someone who looked more like they were in the mafia than they did. You know? So like they're like, this is my cousin Vinny the Hat, and you're like, okay. They're like, all my family is like Irish, and they're talking about like how good the food, and like they're like, this gravy is terrible. Like you shouldn't, you don't know good at real at pasta and this, and we're just. Right.
That was my favorite. They always had like one guy that was always with them. I remember Cutter was going through my husband was going through my phone recently looking for a number, and he was like, "Who's Big Mike?" I was like, "Oh well, that was Tony's friend. It's always around."
God damn.
Look, hey, thanks for taking the time. I think
my pleasure.
Look, this dude, it's so great to see all your success, and we'll keep. And when this is all over, dude, I'd love for us to get a lunch together that we both remember. And
I remember it now.
Yeah. It's at Sam Morril, Morril on Twitter and Instagram. He has a podcast that he does with his girlfriend and stand-up, Taylor Tomlinson. This is important to me. It's a movie podcast. And then it's special. I got this. It's on Comedy Central stand-up YouTube channel.
Yeah, just YouTube my name.
It's
the first
Sam
thing that'll
Morril.
come
It
up.
comes up. It's very funny. And your Twitter is actually, you're like very active and very funny on there too.
What else am I gonna do, dude? I mean, like, what else am I gonna do but tweet dumb jokes right now?
It's great,
Keep us
the world's on
laughing.
fire.
Thanks again.
Yeah, you too.